Hey everyone, welcome back. You ready to dive deep into self-care?
Yeah.
This is going to be good. I
Yeah.
mean, you're always learning, always taking in new information. It's like your brain is a sponge.
Always soaking it up.
Yeah. So this time, we're focusing on you, creating a self-care sanctuary, whatever that looks like for you. We've got research on everything from morning routines, how to manage stress, finding those healthy coping mechanisms to, get this, designing a living space that actually feels like a retreat.
A sanctuary.
Exactly, like a little escape right in your own home.
And the cool thing is, the research really emphasizes that self-care isn't about adding like a million things to your to-do list,
Oh, tell me about it. My to-do list is already a mile long.
Right. It's more about finding these like small changes, intentional shifts, things that actually fit your life, not some like cookie cutter mold.
Love that. Okay, so let's start with mornings, because everyone has a morning, right?
True.
One of the sources talks about having a mindful morning routine. I used to think routines were like the enemy of spontaneity,
Yeah.
you know?
Totally.
But honestly, even just taking like 5 minutes just to be, maybe while I'm sipping my coffee, it really sets the tone for the whole day.
It's amazing how powerful those little moments can be. There's this study, I think it was in one of the sources, about these micro moments of self-care.
Micro moments, I like that.
Yeah. And it found that people who just took like 5 minutes in the morning for some mindful breathing.
5 minutes. I can do 5 minutes.
Exactly. They reported feeling less stressed and like way more focused throughout the
I
day.
see. That's all it takes.
Hmm.
Okay, another thing I got to talk about. Boundaries. Game changer for me. I was a chronic yes person.
Ooh, I feel that.
It was exhausting.
Mm.
But all this research, it really highlights the link between boundaries and lower stress level.
It makes sense, right? There's this great analogy in one of the sources about a garden.
A garden. Okay, I'm intrigued.
So if you just keep planting and planting, but you're not taking care of the soil, not pulling out the weeds, the things that aren't serving you anymore.
It's overcrowded.
Exactly. Everything suffers. So think about your own garden, your schedule, your life. What's one weed you could pull out to give yourself some breathing room?
Whoa. Deep question. Love it. Okay, shifting gears a little, let's talk sleep. The research is clear. It's not just about quantity, but quality.
So true.
And honestly, all this brain science stuff is fascinating. What's actually happening in our brains while we're snoozing?
Well, think of it like this. Your brain is having this massive, like, overnight cleaning party.
A party. My brain deserves a party.
Right. And one of the studies we have, it goes like deep into how the different stages of sleep, they contribute to everything from consolidating memories to regulating hormones to even removing toxins.
To toxins, like literal garbage removal.
Yep. Your brain is basically taking out the trash while you sleep.
Okay, so maybe instead of seeing sleep as a chore, it's like a nightly brain upgrade.
Exactly. And this one source, it makes this point, like if you're constantly sleep deprived, it's like you're trying to run on outdated software.
Oof. Yeah. Not gonna lie, I've definitely felt that outdated software feeling.
We've all been there. It's a good reminder to prioritize those Z's.
For sure. Now, these sources also talk about good old healthy eating and hydration, but not in like a restrictive diet kind of way.
Right. No crash diets here.
It's more about making choices that make you feel good, like from the inside out.
Yeah. And there's research showing that even small changes can have a big impact, like swapping sugary drinks for water or adding more veggies to your meals.
It makes you feel good and gives you more energy.
Exactly. The researchers found a strong correlation between those small changes and like higher energy levels, better mood, just overall well-being.
And I love how one of the sources frames it like it's about self-respect, not punishment.
Yes. Treating your body with kindness is such a key part of self-care.
Speaking of kindness, these sources are all about mindfulness. And they suggest like these little mini meditation breaks throughout the day.
Like little pauses.
Yeah, pauses. But honestly, does that stuff really make a difference? I'm a little skeptical.
It's not just woo-woo stuff. Like, there are actual fMRI scans showing that mindfulness can literally thicken the prefrontal cortex.
What? Wait, explain that. The prefrontal cortex is.
It's like the CEO of your brain, you know? It handles executive function, emotional regulation, all the important stuff.
So meditation actually changes the structure of your brain.
Yep. It's pretty wild.
Yeah.
And on the flip side, mindfulness can actually shrink the amygdala, which is the part of the brain associated with stress and fear.
So less stress, more brain power. I'm sold. Okay, so what about when stress does show up? Because let's be real, it happens.
It's inevitable.
Right. The research talks about having a toolbox of coping mechanisms. What are some of your go-to tools?
Deep breathing is a classic for a reason. It triggers that parasympathetic nervous system, which helps you chill out.
Okay, so like deep breaths. Got it.
But it's really about finding what works for you. One of the sources suggests like journaling or spending time in nature or even just cranking up your favorite music.
Ooh, music is a good one. So it's about having options. And, you know, speaking of approaches, I'm fascinated by how these sources talk about setbacks. Like instead of seeing them as failures, they're opportunities.
To learn.
Exactly. It's about building resilience, right?
Yeah, it's like this mental muscle you can develop. And the research actually shows that people who have this mindset, they tend to be more successful in the long run.
Makes sense. You learn from mistakes.
Right. It's not about avoiding challenges, it's about knowing how to bounce back from them.
Love that. Okay, one thing I really appreciate about this research, they really emphasize normalizing mental health conversations.
So important.
It's not just about like destigmatizing mental illness, but recognizing that we all have mental health, just like we have physical health.
Exactly. And it needs just as much attention and care.
And sometimes that means reaching out for support, which is something the research really highlights.
Asking for help when you need it.
Yes, and seeing that as a strength, not a weakness. Okay, ready to get into emotional intelligence.
Let's do it.
Full disclosure, I don't always feel emotionally intelligent. Sometimes my emotions are like a runaway train.
Well, good news. Emotional intelligence is a skill you can, like, build up and get better at.
Okay, so there's hope for me.
Absolutely. The research defines it as, first of all, recognizing your own emotions, but then also understanding them and managing them.
So not just letting them run wild.
Right. And it's also about being attuned to the emotions of others. So self-awareness and empathy.
Got it. And speaking of self, the research also talks about self-compassion, which to me means being kinder to myself.
Especially when you're struggling.
Yes.
Well,
When I mess up or things are tough, it's like giving myself a break.
exactly. One of the sources describes it as treating yourself with the same kindness you'd offer a close friend.
That's a good way to put it. How do we actually do that, though? Cultivate more self-compassion.
The research says pay attention to your inner dialogue. Like, really listen to how you talk to yourself, especially when you're stressed or you feel like you failed.
Ooh, that's a good one. Catch that negative self-talk.
Exactly. Are you being critical and judgmental? Or are you being supportive and encouraging?
Okay, mind blown. Let's get into creating a physical self-care sanctuary now. Close your eyes for a sec. Picture your ideal calming space.
Ah, so relaxing.
Right. One of the sources talks about this field called environmental psychology. It's all about how our surroundings affect us, our mood, our behavior, everything.
It's fascinating how much our environment impacts us. Right?
It really is. So, like, our physical space actually matters.
Big time. And the research suggests incorporating things that make you feel calm and peaceful. That could be adding plants, choosing calming colors, having soft textures, letting in natural light.
I'm loving all of this.
Yeah.
And there's this part about bringing nature indoors. I swear, just having a little plant on my desk makes a difference.
Right. There's actually a term for that, biophilia. It's our natural human connection to nature.
Biophilia, I like that word.
And like studies have shown that spending time in nature, even just looking at it, can lower blood pressure, reduce stress hormones, and even improve focus.
That's amazing. Okay, we've covered a lot of self-care practices. How do we put it all together?
The key, according to the research, is creating a self-care routine that actually works for you. Not some rigid schedule, but activities you actually enjoy.
Things that feel good.
Exactly. Things that nourish you, mind, body, and spirit. And finding ways to fit them into your life, whether it's daily, weekly, whatever works for you.
So like a self-care menu, not a recipe.
Mhm.
I love that. All right, as we wrap up, I want to leave you with this. What's one thing you're going to do this week to create a little more space for self-care in your life? And how do you think it will make you feel? Think about it. We'll see you next time on The Deep Dive.
See you then.
Bye, everyone.